offensive linemen and defensive linemen how to be better in the trenches.
Probably got 30 or 40 guys that come here in a given year in an off-season.
These NFL players aren't entering the octagon for an actual MMA bout, but they are literally fighting for a roster spot. So why not use any and every advantage to get the best shape of your life?
Leverage is everything in the NFL, inside the trenches. When they come to fight ready, they definitely leave with a sense of improvement, and they understand things better, number one, from a technical component aspect, how they're going to be able to be more effective and efficient as they perform on the football field. They can do it in a safe way, and at the same time, they're getting in unbelievable shape. So most of these guys that train here, they always leave with having shed some body fat. When it comes down to it, everybody's always looking for the edge and advantage in sports.
And now you've got the MMA in the NFL.
You gotta start understanding your body and the energy that you convey. I weigh 250, you weigh 3 something. I shouldn't be able to spin my hand and go like that and you move, energy at the end of the day.
It's a real honor to be here. I appreciate Coach McNally, get a chance to play for him, and it's excellent. And thanks Bob Wiley and all the presenters before me, and the opportunity to be standing in front of you is really an honor. So thank you for that. And I wanted to, last night I heard some guys talking about leverage, and of course that's kind of one of the bigger concepts that we're discussing here at the Cool Clinic this year. And I heard some things, these are some ideas that we generally talk about when we think about how do we generate leverage, gain leverage, and win on the line of scrimmage. And some of these concepts apply here, but is there one in anybody's mind that really stands out? I mean, is there anybody that any one of these things that stands out, any one of these 8 that stands out? I'm sure there's others that have been mentioned, but I don't know. I mean, I think that what the truth is in this deal, maybe one, maybe 2, but I'm going to try to change your mind on today a little bit on what we think about when we think about leverage, because there's some counterintuitive steps that we've incorporated in based on my experiences in martial arts and also knowing the game of football. Structural considerations and angles, those are other things, structures and angles, what are we talking about? We're talking about how do we actually have, power angles, and we hear that stuff a lot. Does anybody know what the strongest shape in architecture is? We got a guy here. Triangle? Nope. Anybody? The arc, correct. That's right. That is the strongest shape in architecture. The triangle is number 2, though. So we get into Leonardo da Vinci, a little history, a little information for you, but he talked about the proportion of the body is very parallel to that of forces of nature, and also in architecture. And if you notice some of the arcs, the bridges, they're the most strong, structurally sound pieces of architecture in existence, and the pyramids, for instance, number 2, they've been around forever, right? So that's kind of what this whole concept is based upon. And so this is the arc position, very similar to Leonardo da Vinci's bridge. You can see it parallel to that. The bridge system is what I have. I call this position of optimal strength. It's really structural. It's optimal strength that the human body can achieve, and I think I've seen that in action. I've had it validated through the Mayo Clinic. Their biomechanics department actually gave us validation that this is the strongest way to actually generate movement and for the human body to be in. So that's what this is, and I'm going to show you guys today. How does it work? The vertical lift versus the horizontal push. A lot of times, traditionally we're seeing guys coming leaning out over there with their face out in front, their hips are behind. And what we're teaching is the vertical lift and how to get them off balance, get them up. The bridge technique, you can see here, this is a suplex. Mechanics trump brute strength. Horizontal push requires gravity and traction. If you think about being in a swimming pool, trying to run in a swimming pool, you need traction and you need weight. So in that world, you need to be heavy and you need to have traction, and you don't have those in the pool. So the point is we're talking about lifting. You don't have to have traction behind you with your hips are underneath you. And we're trying to generate lift and get a guy off the ball, right? We can do what we want with them. And your hips are really a major piece of this. That's of course, one of the pieces, but it's major, very important. See, this suplex, it's extremely powerful. You can take a man bigger than you, you can lift him over your head, and that's literally the only position. You can't do that by holding your arms out and trying to pick them up. So that's why I put that picture in there. The bridge, so the 4 components of the bridge: the coil, the strike, the uncoil, and the finish. And the coil, these are some coaching points. We want, I call them just V angles, but you want, when you draw your hands back in the coil, you're bringing your hands back, but you're never going to have your elbows cross the center line of your back. You're never going to actually cross the spine. And you want to keep a V, because a lot of times guys are opening their chests up, and you see this thing here, a guy gets very subject to getting stabbed, one-arm stab. So that's a piece there. Elbows within the posterior spine. The uncoiled portion is, that's again the protecting of the chest. Hips rolled before contact. Everybody that you see making contact with their face, and then they try to engage their hips. And that's something that, if you look at some of the film of guys that are actually really moving people, it's that hip roll. That's when you see the difference made. And of course, the hands being placed inside. But what we're teaching here is that your head and your hips swap position. Technical difficulty here. Bob, can you get that? Thanks. So as you come forward, you're generating that hip rock, and you're catching the guy underneath, right? So then that's the uncoil, then on the strike. Oh. Next. Good. The heel of the hand, and you guys have heard that been mentioned, I'm sure, a million times, but I want to make contact here, and I'm going to get into the techniques, you guys. The next one. Yeah. Yeah, good. So I have 2 kinds of ways to engage someone. The first type is the shake, and I'm going to show you that. It's kind of like shaking somebody's hand with a thumb up. You want to shake, and this is a small pair of pads here. Big guy, little pads. All right. So when I'm making contact, I want that 90-degree angle. That's our triangle piece, that's right. And then we have the arc piece. Making contact, I'm drawing back at the V, and I'm going to come in here, and I want to make contact the way I teach it, and I like it. Saves your fingers, and it's really important to try to consider this, because as minor as it may seem, it does affect your play when you got banged up fingers. So you got these You got these armpits here, and usually that'll kind of span almost near the pits. As I'm coming forward, I'm drawing my hands back in a V with my face out front, and I'm making contact here. I'm fitting my fingers in soft, right in the armpit. It's going to protect my fingers, but it enables me to deliver with the heel of my hand, make that strike. So it's really powerful here. I can start generating that lift vertically. So that's the shake position, the latch and screw. This is a second piece to this. Once we've already delivered contact, I don't want to go through all the progression of the coil and all that stuff. You guys have seen that, I think. But when it comes to actually engaging with your hands and how we start to manipulate the man across from us, big piece here, latch and screw. And how that looks is I'm delivering here, so my thumbs are up, right? And as I deliver and I cross as my elbows come forth in that V shape, I'm going to cross my body in front here, making contact here with the thumb up. Now I'm going to latch and screw my thumbs out. So my thumbs are going out. The more you can get them out, the better. This is actually more optimal. There's more power here. It's just that, we're not trying to accomplish that. I know that there's a lot of guys teaching that too, where you come up underneath. And I don't like that as much on the onset because you don't have that sensitivity in the back of your hand. And sometimes you're liable to miss at times to dig them underneath. So I teach this shake technique with the latch and screw, boom, and I'm screwing them in. Now from there, I can make, so these things are applicable again on the one-on-one run blocks if you're making contact with a defender. They're good for short sets, anything like that, just pretty much engaging a guy. You want to lock him down, you latch and screw. So there's the thumbs at the 45 or greater. I mean, you can again, if you want to get them out a little bit, the elbows tighten down, the hips catch up the elbows, tightening down to the buttress, and I call this a buttress. I use architectural terms, but this is a little different idea. Once I've engaged the guy, I'm going boom, boom here, I latch and screw, and I walk my hips. Now I have a buttress. It's basically the groove above the hip bones. If you can keep your elbows tight enough, and that's the problem for a lot of guys because they lift so much. I wasn't able to do this as a player. I lost some weight, but now I'm actually operating more powerfully. I have more. My biomechanics are on my side now. I can operate that way and generate that lift throughout the kinetic chain. As I make contact, my hips, my elbows are tightened down again, and latch and screw, and I'm engaged here, and I walk into them. So the buttress here is preventing that from breaking. And that's very strong, extremely strong. If you're out here, you can get collapsed. That's a buttress concept. Going to the next. So the second. So the second piece of my program, that's the Bridge Series. That's what we do with Safe Football. That's for kids, that's about being a good steward of the game. That's about trying to protect people. I think there's a lack of knowledge at the really lowest levels of football, and I think that we're all, Coach Muir alluded to last night about how the game is under attack, and we all love the game of football, and so we're trying to do our part. We have a nonprofit called Safe Football, and we're doing things with high school programs as well as kids 8 to 13, anybody making contact. And for those of you, if anybody wants to take part in that and knowing more, in your area, let me know. We're doing a great job with that thing in the community. So we have some really, I don't want to confuse Safe Football with inferior football. This is nothing nice about this. It just protects the brain a little bit more. We can mitigate some of these concussions. So the Buckle Series, the Bridge Series will make you strong and it'll keep you safe. The Buckle Series will break you down. We basically use this Buckle Series to break the bridge. Bridge being the strongest position, now we want to break and buckle that bridge. That's what this whole concept is about. I'm excited to show you guys some of these techniques here. So the run game, we're going to go through some of the techniques that we can incorporate there. And the steer is the first one. So the steer is about, a lot of things we do, it's really about taking the spine alignment and breaking that. Not breaking the spine, but turning the spine. If you think about I have a hanger here, think about a hanger on a coat rack, and now you want to twist that hanger because think about doing a heavy back squat with your shoulders tilted. You've just given up a lot of strength. Very simple ways. You guys have probably taught a steer before, to steer the plate. What I teach is probably a little different, and it's a little bit easier. We're not relying on brute strength and trying to just manipulate somebody. We're going to lag and lift, and that's what the next piece is. We want to get that shoulder tilted, and basically I put the hanger up there because there's two ways to tilt that hanger. You can tap down, you can lift up, or the third way is you can tap and lift, and that's what we're going to try to accomplish. And that's a concept that I learned in wrestling. is when you get a guy, you want to take him down, you want to never go head on with him, you want to take him at an angle, and you also want to try to get him off out of sorts. It's a really powerful thing, and it can be the reason and the difference between a small guy with inferior strength and ability beating a larger man that just tries to play it straight. So we're on the next one. Yeah, we're going to demonstrate that, but I think the next. Yep. So this is, again, both hands on the wheel. We refer to both hands being inside on the wheel. This is the wheel. So I want to basically lag and lift. So I've already latched and screwed, right? Now I want to lag and lift, and the lag is the most important piece when you're working inside the frame. The lag is not a press. It's not a drag. It's not trying to take him down. It's sucking that elbow in, like as if you're doing a lat pull, and you're tightening that lat down. And what that does, that breaks down his shoulder. So you already got him here. See, he's gonna, and I'm not doing it with a lot of force. I'm just tightening my lat, dragging him. Now I've got that spine tilted, right? And then now I'm gonna lift. So it's a pop. So now we got him off kilter. He's losing his effect by a large degree. That's the lag and lift. The fold and the tilt. This is the same concept, but we use this now. In a perfect world, we would have hands inside, right? But that doesn't happen all the time. So let's say he's got one hand in, I got one hand out and one hand in. I'm going to buckle this elbow in. It's called a fold. Now I'm going to do the same thing, a fold and tilt. You take them where I want them. So those of you that said the hands inside are critical, they're good. But I can show you how they beat that. Put both hands inside. So if I can ratchet his hands in, basically this is an optimal position, thumbs up, 90 degree, right on the buttress there. The difference between that and a shoulder submission is about that much. The guy's going to lose his strength, he's going to fight that, he's going to stop altogether. You're going to have to, or you're going to mitigate his strength, depending on how tough he wants to be. So the cup refit, again, this is the second piece in the hands series. This is the shake, and then the cup is coming in with the fingertips underneath. That can happen in a couple capacities. When I talk about on the one-on-one runs, I'm going to refit for the cup. So let's say I got him here, and his hands are on, wherever, and I'm already engaged. Now I can refit. What that does is you got more power. The trachea choke, that'll make you come around pretty quick. When you get the pads, the V of the pads here, up into the trachea, you don't want to be a part of that. So very powerful. The cup fit on a double team. This is when, what I like to do is, I said before, a lot of times I'm nervous about coming off the ball with my hands up like this, but missing, because I don't have that grab. I can't grab that way. And if I miss, guys got really tight pads there, I'm in trouble. So I don't mind doing it on a double team rather. So if I'm a left guard and I got a center with me, I'm stepping here, I can make contact with my shoulder pads. I slide that underneath and take him for a ride. So that's one hand, because you got a center or an adjacent lineman with you helping take them over. So that doesn't, it's a little more conservative. Next. What's that? Yeah, the med ball, you guys can, we have a drill that we can do with, I'm sure you guys have seen it with, Coach Wiley's done it. You hold the ball up here and you can refit with the med ball drill. It's very effective without pads. So we're going to get into the pass protection portion of today's deal with the buckle series. Something a little bit different. I call it skewering. When you watch boxers throw punches, the real good guys are gonna not just stopping here. They're extending, they're plussing. They have their subscapula. Now the scapula is really powerful. That's a big part of your back. And if you ever watch a bear walk, shoulders roll. The idea here is that we want to get that extension. So the scap and the skewer, the subscapular skewer is what we're doing to show. So the first piece is going to be the scap, which is just like your pass protecting. Now I want to make a punch. If you're walking into me here, see how my elbows are my elbows are perfectly straight. I'm not yet really delivering my strike as I want to. This is a drill I do. It's for timing punch, to really get to know that end range, to get that timing down, to make contact with the defender. So my elbows don't. So if you come in here. See how I've got a lot of strength here. And so we're going to get to the next slide. the scap and screw is really where you're making contact, and you guys have seen some of the Tunch Ilkin films. I like a lot of what he does. I think when a lot of times guys will make that initial strike and you let go and you give the guy a second chance. So I like to screw it down. So once I scap here, I'm screwing. See, I'm making contact, I'm trying to grab. It's a tight jersey. Got the Pop Warner gear for these guys. So the scap, now this is thwarting and passing on twists. If you got a guy coming as a penetrator, really it's the most effective. So if you're coming in as a penetrator, maybe I've already engaged them, and now I can, it's a really powerful thing. Watch, this is just one hand. I'm not moving my feet. So, is that powerful? So all I'm doing is rocking that extension on the scapula. So that's a good thing for thwarting twists and breaking people down. The scap post, this is something you do kind of like I just showed. If I'm a center or whatever I'm working, if I'm uncovered, you're a tackle, nose tackle. I'm here, I'm just holding space on a slide protection. I can help my guy out over here as I move. But I like to make contact with the straight arm. I used to do this a lot where it's just a lot of wasted movement and energy, not as powerful as making contact with a bent elbow, step up in as a post. But see, then I'm trying to bench press them off. In this case, I'm just going here. I started with a straight arm, okay? Sorry. And the key to that is turning, this is called lightning rod. If you see these defensive guys, as a note for those guys, none of them are here, take it back with you. But when you throw that thing, a lot of times that one-arm stab is a real dangerous thing, and I know you guys all know about it. But when you throw that, the guys that really are successful with it, they come in and they lead with the one arm straight, right? Well, the guys that with the bent elbow, it's the same thing. You're losing a little bit. The hips underneath, you can really roll a guy back, but what we do at the end is twist. So the thumb comes out and boom. So I do that on if I'm doing that as a left guard or an uncovered lineman again. I'm just here, I'm going to make contact. Here, square up. He's coming off the ball. I can jar him there, and I can also just kind of hold space. What that does, it tilts his shoulders, it helps our center get over there and help out. Just a little thing. I find to be a little bit more efficient. The snap series is really how we take on bull rushes. You guys have seen the trap and the wedge and all that stuff with Tunch, and you guys probably teach the hop, some variation. So this is where we disconnect the opponent from pressure. So we're going to go into that, and there's a video here. Drag and fold, I'm basically latching down on, I'm folding his elbows in, because if he's got his hands inside, now I hop back. Even though my hips come forward, I'm regaining my composure with my hips toward the end. This is the fold and chop. So I don't like ever taking off. The trap here would be if you have your hands on me. So if he's pushing on me, I'm going to disengage altogether and try to chop those elbows. I don't like that because you're separating. And if the guy's good enough he's a good athlete, it might take you back for a ride. It's a risky deal. A couple coaching points I look for the head. Again, it goes back to the spine alignment. If the guy's head's down, the guy's head is down. You guys hear me all right? If the head is down, that's an indicator that his spine is out of sorts and we can drag him down or snap him down. So when I do the chop, it's again, if my hands are not in position, if I can't refit, and that's sometimes, refit and hop, of course, but if I can't do that, I'm going to fold one of the elbows. So on this side, I'm going to fold that elbow. As I do so, I'm going to chop the other arm by hitting that nerve right in the joint line. So if he's doing it here, I'm going to show you the chop on this side first. So he's pushing. So that's going to open that hand up. It's not a big chop coming down. It's real subtle. It's just, again, it's using the scapula. So if we have this arm in, I'm going to fold that in. And I'm going to use that other hand because I'm using to ratchet that down a piece of jersey, a piece of cloth, and I'm not losing separation with the opponent. So I'm able to, as I break him down, I chop him down. I'm dragging him with that piece of cloth or whatever I can get my hand on. That way we're not really giving much up because if you don't get it, you can still have a chance to refit and hop. So we just kind of went through the fold and chop, and it kind of already went through this piece, but the fold and drag again, if the guy's hands are inside and he's pushing you back, I look for this where the hands are. Basically, you guys can feel down where your sternum is. If the hand is above if the palm of the hand is at or above that, then don't consider trying to chop him, because you got a guy he's already got leverage. So if his hand's low and his head's down, that's a really good indicator of when you can throw a guy down. Depending on your hop, even if the guy has his hands up, if you hop good enough, and you get your feet in the ground, you're pushing him out. Here, let's try it on this. Don't want to hurt anybody out here. So just push into me. I'm not going to take you down too hard here. So if this is going to, here, step back a bit. So his hands are here. So I'm not sure he's to touch on that. I'm going to go down. So put your hands like tight hands, because in this case I would refit. So you're pushing. So I'm just going to drag him down by collapsing those elbows. Okay, it's very easy to do. Thanks, man. The pry refit. Now, the fold and drag, I just showed that. The drag is, you're dragging his ass on the ground. The pry refit, so...
My inside.
What's that?
My inside.
Yes.
Right.
So as I'm folding here, he's going to do something about that. If I'm trying to fold him, he's going to try to fight that pressure. Now he's prying back up, and I'm going to refit that hand. So if I don't get my way, I'm going to fold him, refit. It's another way to, it's a little bit of a cat and mouse game, but very effective. These are some of our drills I do at the level 1, it's college level stuff. So we got vision, and this is a good one, I think. I don't know, I learned this from a major league umpire. I asked this guy, like, how do you stand behind a plate with your hands behind your back and your face in front and watching a 100-mile-an-hour fastball come at you, and you don't lose sight of that thing? Because I noticed when I was playing, there were times when the guy does all this shake stuff, the nonsense, and then you have a tendency, it's human nature, you have a tendency to flinch or to blink. Can't afford to do that. So what I do, and this is an easy one anybody can do as they're walking to practice, you just kind of detrain that, untrain that flinch response. And we take it from there. We do some other things and start incorporating it into individual drills. Hands are here, and now I can start flashing the guy's face, slapping the hand, get him to maintain his composure, keep his focus without flinching. It's a good one that helps develop that, so we don't lose out on that deal. It's very easy to implement. The hand sensitivity, the hand slap, everybody's seen this one. Put your hand out. Both hands. Kids like this stuff, and people like it. It's a little competitive. Put your hands that way. Just going to do that one. That kind of thing, and you try to start to awaken the nervous system in practice, but start to develop that hand sensitivity to feeling. And we go into this, that's a hand slap, and then the center line training. So if he's going to start to do a rip on me, I'm going to refit my hands, and you just start feeling it, and you can kind of integrate that in. You've probably seen that before. Hand sparring is a good competitive drill we do, where we're circling around, and we don't have to have pads on. I use gis or anything that's got a thick cloth to it. I want to protect my chest. That's one thing I wanted to mention today. Is again, if we're kind of looking at boxing or something as a sport, I'm modeling after boxing, but there's some components of it that are effective. And you never see a good heavyweight or anybody, a good boxer period, dropping his hands. His chin is his moneymaker. It's going to keep him alive. And just because you can take a punch, there's no future in that. So what they want to do is maintain it. When they're delivering strikes, they're always protecting their chin, and we need to do the same with our chest. Even though we're usually attacking people, there's some easy ways, called clogging or parrying, clogging the chest, making sure that as he's trying to shoot his hands, I can kind of work to deflect those punches and the strikes. So we do hand sparring. It's real competitive, and then you let the whistle go when someone declares, he basically gets hands inside, and you can start working all the series of progressions that we talked about. The fold, the refit, the pry, the refit, and we're going to talk about the tip of the spear, that's what I call hand fighting. Getting that sharp, that's the first piece of the weapon, making contact with an opponent. We want to make that really sharp and count when it makes contact. The heel strike, I think you guys have seen this. Do this a lot, you can't do it enough. It's not about brute force. You're not, a lot of kids will see them like, okay, it's using the roll of your wrist just like you're rolling your hips. It's really powerful, and it does emphasize the tip of the spear, making contact and making it count and collapsing that sternum on contact. The dig progression, I got a tape that will show you that. 3 series there. It's rhythmic, resistance, and push-pull. Fit, refit, which you guys would probably understand what that is, but I got a drill will show that. Fit, fold, refit, again, we mentioned that already. The bridge, two-step hat and hands. Or I'm sorry, 2-step hip and hands. So I'm step 1, 2, and my hips and hands are really part of the same deal. That's just something you can do with a partner. Hip hop drill is something that gets your body into the shape, the arc shape of that we want to achieve, and it's like a bull rush hop. So I'm being pushed here. So push me. I can hop and basically get my hips underneath. It helps train that bridge series. Just a good drill. Med ball thrust is one again I mentioned. You've got a ball. If he's holding the ball here, act as though you're holding a ball. So I'm coming up and I'm just going to come up here and make contact with the ball. And the thing with the ball is, and I notice when I work with a lot of people, the first thing is to do is they either hold it like parallel like this, with their hands like this, or when they make contact, they try to do this. You can't carry the ball that way, so we do it at a 45. Kind of cup the fingers a little bit, so you're making it here, and just so you have the ability to hold that ball. Next. This video. This is a dig drill. I'll explain after. Yeah, thanks. Notice the spine is tilting. So this thing, I got the team going on this. This is up at University of Washington. It's a good drill you can incorporate in the weight room. A lot of the drills I have are really good for that because I know there's some rules that we can't get around. So we don't have pads on, so we're going to do this. That's why I do the dig progression, because you can use the lat as a handle without having a set of pads on. Forces to keep your hips underneath you. That's part of the progression. The first progression, and really the purpose of the dig drill, it's similar to pummeling and wrestling, and it's to make sure you're tying your hands and your hips together. It's really where the power is. If you make contact, your hip back, you lose it, and your elbow bent. That's a terrible position. If I'm here, so that I'm driving my hands and my hips, they're connected. That's where the real power comes from. So I work that a lot, and it's something that, gets guys pretty tired in 30 seconds, and you can kind of add that into a warm-up. It's a really nice progression. The first part of the progression is rhythm. So if he's going to go, you've never done it, but from here, just kind of rhythmically trying to work in very tight circles, but you're just trying to work on getting the hands inside. Then you start in the second progression piece. The second progression piece is, we're going to make it tighter and more challenging. So we're going to now defend and make it a little more challenging for the guy across from you to allow your hands inside. And the third is the dig and the pull. So that's where we're going to work the bull rush deal. So keep going here. Fit, refit, this is the next step of the progression, more football specific, and you guys have seen this, I'm sure. But it ties the dig in, and you can do this with pads or without pads. Real tight circles, thumbs up. The hips are in.
I like this hand here. You got one hand on my shoulder? No. I'm not going to do that. Stand here. I want to get my hand here.
See, I'm higher than him, higher than these guys, but I'm still able to move them back because of the trajectory of my hips. Trajectory of the hips and hands, kind of a rolling 45-degree upward, and you're going to get a guy up off of the ground. The hand sparring deal. This is what I was mentioning before. Do it without helmets on. It's a good way. I mean, I think we could become better football players by practicing the skills of football. I think it's something that it's really the piece where I think the most growth and development is possible, and it's a piece that's getting taken off the table because of some of these policies out there. So we like to do these things in drills that we can fit into the standard off-season training programs with strength conditioning teams, or staffs rather. So the bridge and buckle series review, these are our phase one. That's what we went over today. You have the coil, again, that's drawing your hands back in the V shape with a 90-degree angle, never crossing the back. The uncoil, as I'm stepping forward, I'm rolling my hips, but I'm definitely protecting my chest in the process. And my feet I didn't mention, but I think this is something that's been controversial, but it's absolutely more powerful, and it allows your hips to come through as your toes are out at a 45. So you create a 90-degree angle with your feet. That seems to be the most powerful position, and enables guys to, when you're hopping, if you think about the hop, if your toes are forward, you're not getting that same hip thrust. So the toes come out on contact. So even if you're running from a distance, if you're kind of making contact with a player, you come to balance and you make contact and you have your feet at a 90 degree. And the weight is positioned on the insteps. Another key point. We talked about the steer, the latch and screw rather. That's the next piece. The latch and screws here, you latch down to the buttress, you got a 45 or better with your thumbs out. And you have the steer progression, which is the lag and lift. We go into the fold and the tilt, and then the cup refit, which is the one hand underneath. The skewer series, again, the scapula. We have the scap and screw, which is you're popping them and you're fitting. The scap is a good one for if you're trying to just do trying to stop and thwart a line stunt, is when you're already there and you can just generate more power without actually trying to. It's kind of a second piece of taking a second bite of the apple, getting to launch that guy. We have the post again for an uncovered lineman on a slide protection here. It's very powerful. Snap series of folding the chop, and we went through that. And then the chop would be you folding the elbow, chopping the one arm. Key indicator once again is if the defender is out over his head with his head down, it's a real good indicator that he's going to be easy to snap down. The fold and drag is when the guy's got both hands inside, and I'm breaking that down and I'm dragging him down with the cloth, face first. Pry refit, we went through that again. So that's from buckling, he's going to fight it, refit, and that's phase one. So that's really all I have for you guys today. That's our first piece of the presentation. Again, we have a phase one that we work with colleges, and this is something that I try to get guys really acclimated to doing very proficiently, and it's making players a lot better at football, and it's one thing that we can do. I know that schematically you guys are in charge of that, and then I think with the players, what I like to do is just be able to develop the microcosm of football, which is the individual player, which is hard to do it at a lot of higher levels of football, as you guys know. So these drills are really easily incorporated, and we're working with some college programs right now. We've got a lot of NFL kids that come through, and we work now with the Safe Football piece, the nonprofit work with high schools. We just partnered with Athletes Performance and doing some clinic work out there, and we've got some good things in the works, and we'd love to have your participation. I appreciate you guys having me here. This is a real honor and a privilege to be part of the Cool Clinic, to be speaking before you as a former player, and I think it's a great thing, and just it feels good to get outside of the MMA community, whatever that means, and come back into where I really, an area where I really know best and spent the majority of my life in, and that's offensive line. And I may not look like an lineman anymore, but I certainly am still in my DNA, and I think it's important to mention. I talked about initially about being a good steward of the game. It's all about this. It's you guys coming out here sharing ideas. To what degree, it's up to you. I'm not sure, but guys are sharing their ideas and sharing concepts and trying to help each other and having a good spirit of sportsmanship in the game itself, because it is highly competitive, as you know. But for me, it's a lot of fun, and I appreciate you guys having me. Thanks for having me at the Cool Clinic.